Welcome back to the FACEIT Challenger Invitational. We're ready for best of three, number 2 of the day, our second semi-final. I am James Stress O'Leary. Alongside me is Richard Pulse Cam. And we're ready to go for the semi-final between SK Gaming Prime and Unicorns of Love.
And I am hyped about this game, and I sound like it when I'm coming into this one. But we are into Champions Select Picks and Bans. We're going to have that coming up on stream momentarily. So, Kale, Yasuo are going to be the first couple of bans.
Yeah, I think those are very standard bans right now, alongside this Kassadin as well. Not too surprising to be starting this game out.
These two guys haven't played against each other just yet, so they're not going to go with targeted bans from previous games. And Yasuo is kind of banned against most people just because they didn't want to play against it. Kale is just kind of more of a generalist ban out, so they're not really targeting too much at the moment.
I think something that SK Prime have to keep in mind here is Zodiaz, the mid laner for Unicorns of Love, actually ended up pretty much dominating Forbiven in those games. Like, Forbiven is from Cloud9 Europe, who Unicorns of Love would go 2-0 over convincingly. Forbiven is normally, a consistent mid laner who very rarely gets behind, but Zodiaz did a great job in both games of taking Forbiven to the limit.
Indeed, and he was playing Kale in one of those games as well and was just chunking through those health bars. So that's going to be taken away from them. Probably SK were watching the games from yesterday. So Annie and Caston will be the next two follow-ups. Caston not always banned out second, but usually like the last ban out, and most of the time from Red Team as well.
Elise banned out by SK Gaming Prime tells me obviously they wouldn't want to first pick it. Now that tells me they've obviously got something else that they're looking at picking up. We'll see what indeed it is. But I think another ban that SK Gaming Prime could have looked at is perhaps the Thresh away from Hylasang. He hit so many hooks yesterday against Cloud9 that I would be surprised to not see a Thresh here, especially with the Annie ban. Kha'Zix has been banned out as well, so we won't see Kha'Zix in this game.
It's going to be the prioritization onto Gragas. I mean, again, it makes sense. It's something that's part of the roster of basically all mid lanes at the moment, and some even junglers. But that's going to leave Thresh open. And as you mentioned, Hylasang was incredibly good on that champion, secured a ton of kills for his team, and Renekton's going to be prioritized as well, which is, again, a little interesting.
Well, I think in this situation, they want to pick something that's very solid. Renekton does very well against most top laners, of course, with the adjustments to a lot of the previous meta champions. And also, Vizicsacsi is a top laner who, when we used to custom on Animate, would play these solid top laners such as Renekton. Right. So it's a champion he's comfortable on, a champion that is comfortable in lane as well. They've picked up Vi to go alongside that. So again, going along this route of consistency rather than anything all that risky to begin with.
That's going to be followed up by the hover over Thresh and Jinx. And again, Thresh is something that both of these supports have done very well with in previous games that we've seen yesterday. And Jinx is going to be locked in fact. Yeah,
I like that pairing there for Jinx, Thresh. Thresh on 6 will be, pretty significant there in that game. There's never a game goes by where you think a Thresh didn't really do much that game in the bottom lane. Now, that's going to be a Leona picked into Thresh, and we saw this a couple of times yesterday, that Thresh can flay Leona mid-Zenith Blade, and it can make it a little bit difficult for Leona to get in range, but that's not the only reason that you'd pick a Leona is for that engage in lane. Your engage in teamfights is also very, very good with the Solar Flare from a very long distance away.
It just means that the laning phase is a little more tricky to get done because, of course, the flay backwards or even flay at the right angle can really put a spanner in the works if they're trying to make something happen in bot lane. Again, that Jinx is going to be a little more defensive. But the Mundo is being hovered over, and he wasn't banned out, and we've spoken about Renekton kind of allowing Shyvana or Mundo to be picked into that because they are just kind of the meta top laners. And while Renekton is solid, if you have Mundo and Shyvana available, why not pick it against Renekton?
Yeah, and we saw Mundo earlier on in the day today go against Renekton. Pantheon will get locked in here, but that Mundo Renekton lane, Mundo has, after the first few items, quite a good time against Renekton. Both are fairly consistent laners, but Mundo has that little bit easier way of farming because he just kind of has to sit in lane and can take a lot of the damage. Pantheon in the jungle is a very aggressive earlier game jungle that is able to survive throughout the game now because of the changes to the jungle item. So we'll touch on that a little bit more as we head into the game, but we're looking at a mid laner here now for Unicorns of Love. Who are they going to pick up?
Well, they hovered over Ziggs, then they hovered over Nidalee, and then they looked at Orianna, and then they locked it in. So they're looking for Orianna, and Orianna is actually something we haven't seen for quite a while. It's still a strong mid laner.
Yep.
And when we headed into Season 4, we saw Orianna Gragas like all day, every day. And that's going to be locked in alongside the Vi. So they've got the ball delivery system, moving away from champions like Zac. But because Vi is still viable, Vi stands for viable, by the way, if you didn't know.
Apparently so.
Okay. So we have 20 seconds left until we jump onto the delay, and then we'll have another 3 minutes. We'll be onto the Rift.
Yeah, I really like the Orianna pickup as well. I mean, as a caster, Orianna Gragas, and also I think mid laners find the same thing, and that's why people looked at alternatives. Orianna Gragas has been seen in so many games that it's not boring, because it's never boring, but it's very samey as you go in. But that's because both champions are so consistent. They farm pretty well. They're easily escapable. I mean, Orianna has a shield. They have good engage potential. Team fight is great. That all around for both champions is so consistent that you can just play them against each other. It's a skill matchup in lane. Both have some viability during the game at all stages because of their ultimates, and it's just so safe.
Yeah.
And that's, what more do you want than a safer laner in the current meta?
Just not interesting. That's what we want.
See, now I think they get interesting as the game goes on.
Yeah, but not for like the laning phase. It's basically just watching top lane in mid lane and top lane. So then you just look at bot lane, and then it's like, well, at least some things are happening here.
And then you just hope for the 3000 yellow shockwave.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
I mean,
it's not
isn't
for
playing,
mode.
so...
Yeah. So it's not going to quite be that. But Pantheon is a unique little interaction here, and we may even see more aggression in that mid and bottom lanes than we'd kind of be expecting to see, because Pantheon changes the game quite a bit. He is a very high damage early jungler who's going to love to trade against Vi. And Vi can't trade in the jungle, can't trade in her own, definitely doesn't want to be in her opponent's jungle. And that makes it a little bit difficult for the early game here for Unicorns of Love if Pantheon decides to be aggressive.
Pantheon is kind of on the higher end of good jungle traders as well. It's not just like he's better than Vi, because everyone's better at Vi than trading in a one-on-one, but Pantheon is very good at trading. So he will want to get into that jungle with Vi and try and take her down, because there's very little she can do about it. She can go for those ganks, but being counter-ganked by Pantheon would be disastrous, because she'd be cut off, and you're not going to run away from a Pantheon once he's found you.
Yeah, and Pantheon is a little bit safer in the jungle now. Speaking to a lot of junglers, they felt that junglers like Pantheon and Wukong are coming back into the meta because of the changes to the Spirit Stone items. And, you know, all junglers will like to build Spirit Stone items because the conservation passive gives them the extra gold from the jungle. Now they also get added health and mana regen. And Pantheon is a very mana-intensive champion. As you've done one rotation of the jungle and perhaps attempting a gank, you can be quite low on mana, and it's difficult to get into the lane and then have effect if you're that low that you just can't get there. And you just kind of walk into lane and you're like, okay, well, now I actually don't do too much. Nowadays, you get the extra mana regen, you're a little bit higher on health, you can get into lane and get there for the ganks.
There's more mana to play with. Because we've seen mid laners like Gragas and like Zed, most of the mid laners will like to pick up a Fiend's and Holy Grail on the early Chalice. Specifically Gragas, he will always go for the Chalice. And therefore you can donate that blue, or the second blue rather, the second rotation of buffs, to that Pantheon, and then he'll be happy to take that away. And even with the sustain, he can just spam his abilities, he'll have a faster jungle clear, and then when he goes for those ganks, he can definitely use his full combo, and definitely use his full combo a second time. Yeah,
I think that's kind of one of those things that is very game dependent. I don't think Pantheon would expect to have his second blue in a game. I think you pretty much have to give away that mentally, but if you're perhaps very far ahead in lane, in the mid lane, I think that's something that you could opt to do and would be a choice. But I think Pantheon, with the new Spirit Stone items, is actually kind of safe on his own now with the mana regen. It just depends on how good a game you're having and where you want that extra cooldown reduction of mana to go. We're in the loading screen though, guys. You can see it behind us. I still love that.
Pretty cool.
I wish I could have that in my house. That I could just like turn around and
it's great when you're
watch
casting.
the game. Yeah, you won't see this because we're in game, but sometimes I just turn around and watch on the big screen when Pulse is talking during team fights. It helps me like, you know, make sure I'm keeping on
just
top
so he
of
can just ignore me and watch the game on the big screen. That's how it happens.
It's not all about ignoring you, Pulse. it's not personal. Don't worry.
Okay.
I'm just amazed by a large TV. Now, we are in the FACEIT studio in Milan, Italy. We are live here from Milan. If you're not quite sure what FACEIT is, it's a competitive web platform where you can compete in daily 1v1, 3v3, and 5v5 League of Legends tournaments. And you can win yourself some pretty cool prizes.
You can. And we also have a promotional code which you can enter on the website. And over the weekend, if you want to make an account, add that code and you'll have a premium account for 1 month and you'll be able to access all the features of FACEIT, including all of their tournaments and, as you mentioned, the 1v1s and 1v1 ARAMs that I'll be sure to try at some point. So you want to get on that. And then there's some awesome prizes in the shops, mechanical keyboards, headsets, and the grand prize of a car.
Yeah, and it's everything from bronze level to challenger level. So
yeah. Something for everyone.
If you're not quite at the level of our teams who have loaded in, make sure you sign up anyway because you'll be playing against people of your skill level. We're into game here for the semi-final. Semi-final number 2 between SK Gaming Prime and Unicorns of Love. We'll see whether Unicorns of Love can go back-to-back on upset victories.
So, Unicorns of Love, we always predict will lose the game.
Well, I think it's one of those ones. I think I don't want to be too harsh on
they're
Unicorns
not the
of Love.
favorites.
Yes,
okay?
that's the best way to me of saying it.
And they're still not the favorites in this game, but we said that about Cloud9, and they were the favorites to win the entire tournament. So let's see how they face down SK, who took down LOL.
Yeah, I mean, Unicorns of Love proved yesterday that they are a very capable team. I mean, they were at a point where they outplayed Cloud9. It wasn't Cloud9 outplaying themselves and just, losing the game. Unicorns of Love won those games. And Unicorns of Love are a fairly unknown team to a lot of people. And that's the difficulty I have when counting them out of this game is that, I mean, we've done our research and we kind of put the teams into positions where we felt they were favorites. And Cloud9 were at the top of that list. And Unicorns of Love defeated them 2-0 very handily. We'll see whether they can do it again, because I have to feel like they've got it in them to do it.
They kind of just this unknown factor, because they're so unknown as a team, that we just don't know how they're going to compete against SK. Because we've seen SK versus LOL, we've seen SK versus when they were Super Team Kappa when they played against Cloud9 EU.
Yeah.
We've seen all these matchups between all these big teams, but we don't know how this new team will cope, and they've coped very well, in fact.
I think the biggest thing to take away from yesterday's games was how solid the laning was for Unicorns of Love, and that's really one of the ways to identify a good team, is how good their players are individually in lane at being consistent. That doesn't mean how flashy or skillful they are, it means how well can they do against a high-level opponent. And Unicorns of Love stood up against the high-level opponents of Cloud9. Their team fighting was also great, and it looks like they want to go aggressive and trade in the early game.
There's the initial engagement by Hellesang, but that doesn't mean he's going to go all in on 6. Generally, your all-in moments either at level 2, depending on your AD carry, or level 3 when you have all your abilities available to you. But specifically, when you have a Jinx in your lane, that's when you want to be level 2 all-ing in. And even with Leona, that's the type of champion you want to do it with. But Fresh, maybe less so much.
So in that mid lane matchup, what we're going to end up seeing is very similar to a lot of Gragas lanes, is going against a ranged champion like Orianna is going to give Orianna a little bit of freedom in the early game to land some harass with the auto attacks. Hook lands in the bottom lane. They will follow up.
Drags him into the flame jumpers. It's just going to be harassment at this stage more than a straight up kill, but will soften up Leona, meaning that when she hits level 2, level 3, it'll be difficult to engage.
That's the key here, is make it as difficult for them to engage as possible, because you don't want Leona to just get the early engages, get a lot of damage down. And then we saw in a previous game between NIP and MYM where Leona managed to get the engages in the early game and got a great lead for her AD carry in CS.
That's what we're trying to see this game as well. So that's going to be Mozilla and Physics actually going at it in the top lane with Renekton and Mundo. And if the last game is any indicator, Mundo will start to outscale that Renekton, but has been pushed up to his turret. But actually significantly behind in farm already.
Yeah, it's one of those things that Mundo will equalize that farm as soon as he's tanky enough to be able to stand in the wave against Renekton. Renekton has good early game damage against a Mundo, but as soon as Mundo is able to survive through that, that'll quickly turn on its head. Both will draw fairly even, provided there's no jungler aggression, which typically you won't see in the top lane very often. But it's just down to itemization and the pace of the game.
Right, so this is going to be the classic mid lane that we were expecting to see even more of at the start of Season 4, which is the Orianna and the Gragas. They've been not the flashiest of lanes, but it's definitely a skill matchup. Both of these guys will want to farm out. Exlo will have a slightly worse time in the early game because obviously Orianna is range, but when you get to around the level 6, level 7 range, he'll be good to go. Halissan takes another auto attack to the face from Zivan, and there's the Flame Chomp as the Flay back into it once again, like we saw before, and Vardags is throwing down the damage, but no kills just yet.
Yeah, there's heavy damage going down in this bottom lane, and junglers have converged to this top lane. Vi's going aggressive.
They're going to find themselves, and Pantheon is forced to flash over the wall. There's the follow-up by Vizigzachi. The cleaver comes across from Mundo. He's blocking the path. Just makes sure he doesn't get sliced and diced upon, but double flash comes down.
Yeah, Pantheon was a little bit low coming out of the jungle there, and Vi managed to go aggressive, which is very unique for a Vi. Normally doesn't want to go aggressive, but with the health disparity, it was good for him. Hook lands, there's the counter engage.
But now Six doesn't have anything to keep his AD carry alive when there's a Leona on him. And there's the follow-up, the double flash from both of that bot lane. The first blood has been picked up. We'll see what Six can do about leaving the bot lane. There's the stun from Shield of Daybreak, but it can't go any deeper than that. There's the first blood going on to Zavan.
It's a good start by Unicorns of Love once again. They're putting pressure around the map. Master Sheepy's trying to counter jungle on Vi. Forced to flash out. That's typically not what you'd want to do on a Vi. There's been quite a long time since that top lane engagement, so Pantheon is around able to get the counter gank. But, you know, it's a good attempt at being aggressive, just not quite sure it's the right time.
Sheepy knew that there was a kill going down, so
yeah.
he was like, well, it's only going to be a 3 versus 2 at worst, but it just meant that his allies at the bot lane were out of position, so they weren't able to react to that. So that's going to be a flash down, just a small mistake, but it's not going to matter too much because first blood for a flash elsewhere is not going to affect them all that much.
Yeah, you can see Exile now having a much better time in that middle lane. Has got to around and well past that level 4 area where Gragas starts getting a little bit more survivable, a little bit more damage in his kit and is able to really contend with Orianna. That's one of the things about Orianna is in the matchups that you have the advantage, it pretty much lasts through the early game, and then as soon as your opponent has quite a bit of burst damage, you have to play a lot more defensively. You're still able to farm and push fairly hard, but the problem is you can't take too much damage from your opponents.
So top lane is, again, just doing the same sort of thing. Mundo has finally picked up his first item, which is going to be the Chain Vest. Allows him just to take that damage from Zigzachi and still carry on farming. And as you said, that gold will start to equalize in the top lane. As Felix actually hasn't even recalled yet, so he's going to miss some CS and Mozilla will start to catch up again.
Yeah, and Mozilla used his teleport to get back into lane as well, so that's not going to be available for any dragon fights. It's 3/4 of the cooldown is still remaining, so if there were to be a dragon attempt, it would be even on the numbers for now. We'll see how long it takes for a team to start prioritizing dragon. Typically it's after a kill in the bottom lane. We've seen a lot of action down there as well. And again, it seems to be the counter engages from Hylisang on Leona that ends up winning out. They've picked up the first kill from that.
It's always Six landing a perfect hook and the flay, and then Leona being like, actually, I'm not taking very much damage, engage, and then picks up a kill on top of that. So now Six is thinking, well, I don't actually want to go for an engage, because every time I do, Leona will just engage on top of it, and I don't have any healing for Jinx.
And now we're seeing an engage in the bottom.
Well, there's the flay backwards because Six hasn't expended any of his CC. They're going to take some damage from Ardent Blaze, but unless Six has expended the CC, then just back off.
That wasn't the initial point I was going to make about bottom lane. I was about to say we're seeing Vi going for an Elder Lizard build, perhaps. The other option is we saw yesterday Vi going Brutalizer as a second item after finishing Golem, which is a little bit different to what we'd normally see on Vi. It doesn't necessarily make it a bad build as such. It will give you extra damage, but the problem is Vi is a champion that you can't really afford to half and half a build on. You can't go half damage, half tank, unless you want to close the game out quickly, because if you don't have the tankiness from, say, Aranduins alongside Golem, you will never survive diving in through the mid-game.
There's the man drop. It's going to come into the bot lane. Perry comes out, lands onto the AD carrier. There's a flash force to make sure they can land all the damage. He turns around and tries to trade off. There's Get Excited passive, and there's no way Leona can get out of this. Super Mega Death Rocket secures the second kill in the bot lane.
A really, really important double kill there for SK. They can now rotate around towards the dragon should they choose to. Doesn't look like they want to commit to it yet, but with the 2 members down from bottom lane, there's no way that Unicorns of Love can really contest against this. They're going to push out the wave first just to make sure they've got the position for it.
And Pantheon has, in fact, scrapped that point because Master of Sheepy finds himself in top lane. The flash has come down, but they're actually going to be attempting his dragon. There's no way that Unicorns of Love can contest that. But mobility boots picked up by Pantheon, which is something we actually see quite a lot from Vi players, kind of before these jungle items become more prevalent. But it just allows him to get from lane to lane when he doesn't have that Grand Skyfall.
And that was actually good timing out of SK Prime. They knew they had the time to shove the wave in, make sure that Unicorns of Love would miss experience and farm while they headed back to the base after Dragon. So nice timing out of SK Prime to take that Dragon down. They lead this game now by about 300 to 400 gold. But let's see what Unicorns of Love can do to get back in this.
So outside of this tournament, you were talking about the Brutalizer pick before by Vi, and I've typically seen it up when Vi picks up 2 kills, and then we'll head towards the Brutalizer when you have enough gold to do it. It's kind of back to Season 2, but Exler takes damage from Zodians, who just pushes him out of lane, but as I was saying, it's kind of back to Season 2 when we saw Jarvan a lot, and he would like to pick up the Brutalizer, but then just build straight up tank. And that would just give him enough damage.
Master Sheepy's found Exile.
Yeah, and there's no way he's going to get out. Oh, the quick reactions on Assault and Battery secures that kill.
Really nice, preempting the flash over the wall, made sure he followed up. And that extra damage helped him pick up the kill there. So that's the thing, is it's going to help Vi at this stage in the game, picking up kills in the ganks. They just have to be a little bit careful that she doesn't fall behind. The kill will go a long way to helping her stay in the game.
There's Xaxi jumps out of the bush, and Mozilla cannot use Sadism. Just takes him down. Flash on top of him, maybe a bit unnecessary, but still picks up the kill.
Yeah, I think he just slightly mistimed there. Mozilla's flash was still down from earlier, so I think he was perhaps expecting him to flash away, but it just didn't work out. And that right there is a product of Mozilla being far too aggressive when Sadism wasn't available. You really are restricted when playing Mundo in this matchup to only really trading when you know you have Sadism available, because it becomes available a little bit faster than Dominus does.
But it doesn't matter because he just teleports back up the top lane. Not going to miss any of that farm, but he is slightly behind in the lane. Going to allow Renekton to pick up that stun 5k. There's the knockback, and the Solar Flare comes down. Flash out from Zavan. It means he won't be taken down. That's a big cooldown in the bot lane used.
It is, and when you think about it, all they really had to expend was Solar Flare there, which means for the next minute or so, they're not going to have the same engage potential, but we've already seen that when SK engage, there is decent counter engage here out of Unicorns of Love. And Unicorns of Love have re-established a gold lead here in this game. This is what we mean about consistent laning.
Pantheon is sitting in the bot lane, and because of that last engage, that's going to be Vardags and Halisang without their ultimate. Zavan and Six, however, both have their own Super Mega Death Rocket for the execute and the box to keep them in place. Perry is waiting for this opportunity. Grand Skyfall is available, but he doesn't really want to be using that point blank. He's going to go for this engage. There's the Aegis landing for the stun. There's the follow-up from the Zap as well. The hook will land, and Hesang is not going to get out of this, but he is so exceptionally tanky. He has tanked all 3 of those members, and now this has allowed Vi to react to this. Has the Assault and Battery on a couple seconds cooldown, but hasn't quite gone for this engage. We did have the rotation from Gragas, but it has left mid lane vulnerable.
And in the bottom lane, you can see that Unicorns of Love are just very good at reading these engagements. Halisang was low on health, but had enough to know that that presence of Vi being around as well meant that they could push forward to counter-engage that. It was only when the reaction came from SK with Exile roaming down towards the bottom lane that they actually were in a position to not counter-engage that at all. So good read out by Unicorns of Love to get aggressed upon, survive it, and not go too aggressive afterwards.
Halisang tanked a lot more damage than I was expecting with the Eclipse, but here comes the Solar Flare. Now the extra aggression from Vardax should be enough to secure the kill. The box comes down, the flash comes forward, and Six once again is in a bad position. They're trying to get the next bit of CC. Going to be diving this turret, flay them backwards. Halisang is in a dangerous situation, lands the Xenoblade, which will keep him alive, and simultaneously not pick up that kill as Six turns around and takes them down. The extra damage from Flay. And they are definitely in enemy lines, but no one to really react to it. However, the man drop is available.
That was a little bit over-aggressive by Unicorns of Love. They could have just taken the first kill and been content with that. Pantheon's trying to get in range. I don't think he will actually use
He's standing still. He's coming up. He's going down. He's found himself Lucian. Master Sheep is already there. The barrier has been popped. There's the Assault and Battery. They easily turn it around. And there's another kill to Vardags.
Here comes the Super Mega Death Rocket, which isn't a Death Rocket at all. It's a Super Mega Get You Pretty Low Rocket, and you run away and recall. But that's why I was a little bit skeptical of using the Grand Skyfall there, is because Pantheon doesn't do too well at this point in the game 2v1. He's great at trading 1v1 and can fight quite a few champions just on their own. However, going 2v1, regardless of how low Lucian was, they knew that Barrier was still available. They knew exactly the timings on that, and Vardags gets out of there alive. They pick up the kill on Pantheon.
And Vardags picks up another kill, which puts him significantly ahead of Zavan. Halisang is quite happy to carry on tanking. And they pick up the turret, which is another gold swing in their favor. Top tower, however, will be thrown in the opposing favor of Visixachi very soon. Mozilla is probably not going to be able to keep that alive for too much longer. With
that bottom tower down, though, that means that SK will have a little bit better a time pressuring Dragon, which is up in 30 seconds. They're going to be able to go back and buy here, but they're switching focus to the middle lane.
Let's see how much they can do. And there's the ultimate coming out. Zodiac completely whiffed the ultimate. And Master Sheepy's unable to follow on that because that didn't land.
Yeah, Master Sheepy's been pinged back, though, a couple of times. The bottom lane has swung up towards middle here. Visixachi's pressuring the top lane, and Mozilla still doesn't have teleport available for a good 30 seconds to a minute here. So provided Unicorns of Love can either pick up a kill here, they may be able to secure Dragon. Are they actually going to attempt it without doing so?
Well, the ward comes over the wall, and Gragas is still pressuring one of the worst champions to try and go for a Dragon over, because you're all going to be clustered, and you're all going to take that Gragas barrel before they go for a fight, and quite wisely opt out of it. But Vi heads into the mid lane. We'll see how much they can do. Zodiac doesn't have his ultimate and came in with the Vault Breaker, but wasn't able to do too much to Exile.
The thing with SK right now is they've got to be careful they don't get engaged upon in the bottom lane. The Grand Skyfall is available, so it's not too bad if they do go aggressive here. There's no turret around for Unicorns of Love, but Jinx still doesn't have flash for a little bit left of that cooldown, about 15 to 20 seconds. So they've just got to wait that out, make sure that they have their escape available, because they've already gone aggressive and been punished for it when they didn't have the escape.
Manfin has built fairly aggressively, and it's not really paid off. He's gotten a couple kills, but not on himself. Master Sheepy comes in, but can't quite take down Exile, who just walks back towards them. Assault and Battery is up, and Zodiac almost has his ultimate. Might be the case that they re-engage, but not quite yet. So Pantheon have built fairly glass cannon, but isn't really tanky behind that because hasn't picked up any kills to accelerate the itemization process.
A little worrying thing here on the Vi build is after picking up Elder Lizard, the Ruby Crystal, I have to assume is going to go towards a Kindle Gem, which will be part of a Spirit Visage, which will give good defense against Gragas and some of the damage that Mundo will provide, but not Pantheon and Jinx. Jinx has got 2 kills, so has the Bloodthirster available already in her items, and that's a little worrying because Jinx is going to scale pretty well, and unless Vi starts building armor, she's going to take a lot of damage when she dives in.
Maybe she's building towards the other jungle item to collect them all. That'd be a possibility. But middle tower is going to fall to SK, and the hook doesn't quite connect, but middle tower goes down, and the huge 4-man stack, and there's the initiation. The counter engage comes out, and there's a big ultimate. The shockwave comes out. Master Sheepy wants to go back in. There's 1 kill, but I think they're happy with that.
They trade turrets. Bottom lane went down in exchange for their mid. They picked up a kill as well, and Visixachi feels confident to fight in the top lane again. Mozilla doesn't have Sadism available anymore, and Visixachi has Dominus. They've got to be careful now.
He does, and Slice and Dice will get straight through those minions and right onto Mundo. This is SK taking a small tower advantage momentarily, but they're committing so hard to it, and yes, they rotated very nicely, but Unicorns of Love are just playing a much more consistent and solid game.
I mean, you look at CS and that tells the story of it. 211 to 185 isn't the biggest difference, but there's been a kill in that lane that's gone on to Oriana. We just saw it under that turret. Up in top, Renekton faring very well against Dr. Mundo, and that's a fairly even matchup. Having that 1 kill and also the 30 CS lead that is there in that lane is quite a big thing for top laners at this point. And it's only really bottom lane that Unicorn on the CS losing out, but they've had more kills in that lane.
And the jungler as well has just walked in and donated even more kills to him. So he's 3-1-0, picked up the Bloodthirst already, and this is the build that Zed on the Stoke, the champion designer of Lucian, actually favors. Just increasing that damage on the culling. And last game we saw a very interesting build of Trinity Force into Blade of the Ruin King, which didn't work quite so well, but I think the Bloodthirst was a much more consistent build on Lucian. Yeah,
I think that indeed. And it was actually Vi building a Sightstone, which isn't seen often. And that's not to say it's a bad thing. It's going to give them extra vision, will provide Vi with a little bit more health, but this is a very unique Vi build. I like the fact they'll get more vision from it, because of course now a support can only, well, any player can only place 3 wards at a time and 1 further pink ward, so they'll have more ability to control vision on the map. It's whether that gold investment is better served into tank items or whether it'll do better as vision.
And the other thing that's concerning is it was the second item. It wasn't the first item, so you're going to get less value out of it unless this is a long game. And there's the initiation in bot lane. The solar flare comes down, and Lesang comes back into the fray. Perry gets dropped, and the rest of the team get right out of there. Vizixachi gets straight up duped by Mundo. I mean, I think he had vision. Oh, wait, he didn't. He didn't have the minions there. He just got faked out.
Yeah, he got faked out a little bit there. But, I mean, the Sightstone seemingly so far hasn't been a problem for Master of Sheepy. Master of Sheepy's been there picking up kills and assists. Got an assist in that engage there, which will help him get more gold, so will become more tanky. So, I mean, as a teamwork aspect, I think it's fine. I like it with regards to objective control. And they found out Vanillan.
Vanillan gets caught in those golems, flashes over the wall, and they're not going to go too much further than that. Just going to back off to his turret. But also, from a jungler perspective, you can go anywhere on the map. Possibly where the support can't, because they most of the time just have to babysit the AD carry. So the jungler has some freedom to go elsewhere, especially if they're going to be sometimes more tanky than the support player. But at this stage, because he opted with the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, is actually probably more squishy than Leona at this stage.
I wonder whether it's an effect from having a higher damage jungler like Pantheon on the opposition team, that they don't have 2 tanks. So your jungle can afford to build more damage. Yeah. I wonder whether that's a point here. And again, Pantheon's only just finding his way into the meta, as with Wukong. So it's one of the unknowns that hasn't been proven so much that we're used to, you know, specific jungle champions. It may have that cause and effect on the game.
It seems like Sheepy is definitely going for a more teamwork-orientated build in general. He's picked up wards, he's picked up the Sightstone, he's picked up a pink ward on top of that. Perry is trying to reclaim some of those early losses by picking up a kill onto Vizixachi in the top lane. Mozilla is pushing forward, seeing if he can clear out those minions and, most importantly, cut out that vision. Ping comes into the top ward, and Vi is also at the top lane. So again, Sheepy is just reading the situation perfectly. Vizixachi aggresses onto Mozilla. There is the sadism, there's the counter gank, and there's the other counter gank from Sheepy. Should be able to pick up this kill onto Mozilla before much else happens. There's the flash forwards and the solar flare. Halisang secures 1, and this is an easy second to come out. The lantern goes down, but just out of arm's reach.
Yeah, Vizixachi died to Perry there in that fight, which I think they'll give away fairly happily, because Zodiaz and Vargas are trying to put pressure on Exile in the middle while the rest of the team pressures in the top lane. And this gives them a good few seconds here of map control where they can really just push anything they want. There's no action to be had in the bottom half of the map without Dragon spawning in 30 seconds. So this is uncontestable towers here. Gragas is there to clear the wave, but he can't really go 2v1. Here's Jinx
coming in from behind and goes back out again. Something we don't see too often is both the supports going 1v1 in the top lane. I mean, now he's left, but Mozilla comes in from that top lane. Zodiaz does not take the cleaver, but the rest of the team will. Exile comes out. He's got the Gragas barrel, the big explosive casket, pins him against the wall. Exile should have enough damage for this. There's the shockwave, drags Mozilla into the fight. The mandrop comes down. He's committed to this one. 6 lands the hook over the wall. Should be taking Zodiaz for the double kill onto Jinx. Gets excited, looks for the third onto Vardags. Doesn't quite have the damage and has overextended. Vizixachi, there's the lantern, can't quite deny that. And they force him back. There's a 1-for-2 trade.
Really nice passage of play there out of SK Gaming. They knew they had the numbers advantage by using teleport. Hook lands.
Another hook lands on the Vizixachi. Not something they want to follow up on, but there's a free stack of minions. Halisang is taking a lot of damage at this stage. Zap comes forth, and he will have to head on back. This middle tower will surely be falling to SK Gaming.
Yeah, Unicorns of Love with a little bit of an oversight there. They went a little aggressive, didn't account for Jinx rotating and the teleport coming in, and that combination really just allowed Jinx to use that Get Excited passive to catch up in that team fight, and that will swing the game back into the favor of SK Gaming Prime, but it's only 200 gold.
Mozilla trying his best to clear out these mid-lane minions, but the team of Unicorns of Blood can't go too much deeper than that. Vi's actually going to go for the counter jungle, and that has been warded, so Mundo is heading on towards that, and Harry doesn't have his ultimate, so they're just at least going to push Vi away. In fact, they're not going to push Vi away, and that was actually taken out. I don't think that ward can actually see blue buff.
That would be an interesting thing. It may just be a spectator bug. There are a few little unique interactions with wards on the spectator client, but nevertheless, we're seeing these consistent laners here for Unicorns of Love. Once again, just holding their CS difference over their opponents. Jinx started to pick up a little bit more after spending a little bit of time down in the bottom getting free farm as middle lane was getting pressured by Vardags and Zodiaz. But overall, they're just holding their own in lanes. This game is a very close game as well, so it's difficult to tell where the pace of the game is going to end up, but it looks like things are about to boil over in mid.
Zodiaz ambushes Zavan, and again, we might have an initiate in the mid lane, but one of the members has been removed from the map. That's going to be the AD carry of Jinx, who did pick up those previous kills. 4, 3, and 0. Has 3/3 of those kills, and that's just being removed for the next 25 seconds.
And now we see that middle lane tower is fairly low as well. Looks like Hylisang getting around the side of this team fight. The ping has already gone down, so they've got to be careful of the solar flare coming from around the side. But here's the fight.
Exile goes for the engage. The Mandrop comes down to cut off the escape route. They're going to go for this one, but they're getting mauled when they've got the Renekton with Dominus coming out. Six is going to drag them away from his team. Mozilla is still in there somewhere. Hylisang will drop. Villix actually tanks the turret. The Cleaver actually misses. Master of CP again gets dragged into them with Flay. Zodiaz, meanwhile, has picked up a tower. Super Mega Death Rock heading down the mid lane. Will it land onto its target? It lands onto Villix actually. The Death Sentence doesn't quite connect.
With the turret going down in bottom lane, Unicorns of Love will be very happy about that fight. They picked up the kills they needed there and the objective. Zodiaz gets caught out here. This might be the revenge for Svanillan.
Yeah, he doesn't pick up the kill, but he was definitely aware that Orianna could catch him out, and is not going to be fooled by that one again. Oh, he stayed around for a little bit too long. Fresh comes in from the side, but Zodiaz still offers a lot of damage. He jukes out of the way of Zap and still has the shockwave, but that's the whole man stack of SK going towards that Orianna.
And it's a big distraction in the bottom lane because Vardags may be... No, he won't get to that turret in time. There's going to be too much there. He thinks he can, and that could be pretty deadly for him, but he won't be able to take that mid lane turret.
He's good. He's good. So let's take a look at some of these item builds. So Pantheon is still going Glass Cannon, has picked up the mobility boost into the Spirit of the Lizard Elder, which he's had for quite a long time now, and the Black Cleaver, which actually built from the Brutalizer a little while earlier. So Vi is now going for a tank build. Has started to build the components of either a Randuin's or a Frozen Heart, and also picked up the Spectre's Cowl, which will most likely go into a Spirit Visage, but could also go into a Banshee's Veil.
Solar Flare will land on 6.
Hylisang going for this engage, and 6 is just not going to get out. Also utilizing the ultimate and knocks back Vi when she was in that channel, but I think she was right at the very end. Either way, that's a 1-0 kill. And they are looking towards this Baron, or maybe just looking towards Mozilla. There's the Vault Breaker, and he's chunked so incredibly low. He is just completely pinned down. Hylisang uses himself for vision. He cannot regen that HP. Ping comes down onto Baron, and that makes a lot of sense. Gragas, meanwhile, is pressuring the mid lane, so they have to make a split-second decision. It's going to be Baron.
Yeah, I think they can afford to split this 4-1 here. There's not a lot that Jinx and Pantheon can do aside from a Miracle Steal here, and Orianna will be able to hold off Gragas as Gragas has run out of minions there. He is tanking that turret. Yeah, he gets the turret. Shockwave gets flashed out. Nice plays there.
And they're trying their best to poke it out. Pantheon comes in. Will be heading in to try and still he gets it with the Grand Skyfall into Smite. That's all they need. They come massively out ahead, and SK are in good shape, but Exile is definitely not. Zodiaz following after with the ball. They get him in rotation. Zavan, meanwhile, takes Hylisang in the background. That's a 2-for-1. They should be able to keep up this push despite losing Baron. Zavan is trying his best to get out. He's going to be disrupted during the Dark Lantern. Bardax is now underneath that turret. Will be completely decimated as Mozilla comes back into this fight. Zodiaz, they've just overextended way too far. And there's a sadism from Mozilla trying to connect the cleaver. The flash comes down from Vizixachi. He should be good to go.
SK Gaming managed to pick themselves up some big picks there. They get some kills on the map. They also get the middle lane turret. So that inhibitor is now exposed. And with Baron buff in their possession from a miracle steal out of Perry, I just don't know how that ended up happening. The damage was just stopped onto Baron. The Grand Skyfall came in and it looked like they wanted to turn their attention to pick Perry off. But he just got the free smite there.
I think they wanted to just stop the damage and then have him come in, kill him, and then go back onto the Baron, but it was already too low. And Grand Skyfall does a lot of damage, especially when it was right at the center. That's 1,000 damage, I believe, even at like rank 1, but you never usually land it right in the center.
That was just a crazy steal. I'm not quite sure how that happened, and I think we're actually going to see the Baron steal again. So let's go to the replay of this Baron steal. You can see it's 4v2 in this situation. Grand Skyfall comes in. They stop doing damage to Baron. He appears and instantly smites, picks it up. They pick him off, but it was just too little too late to pick Pantheon off. You have to wonder whether they should have just burst the Baron down.
It was just like a random meteor just coming in. I mean, he instantly died as well, so there was no sign of Pantheon. It was just, it was definitely something stole the Baron. But Tom's Tower is going to be falling to SK, and now they have a large momentum swing because of the Baron, and plus that last team fight, which definitely went their way. Small consolation prize will be the Dragon, which has scaled into later parts of the game. Now everyone around level 15, up to level 18, so Dragon reaching its maximum amount of gold.
Yeah, at this point, Dragon is going to be somewhat favorable over an outer turret, but of course you don't want to give away too many turrets as you do lose map control at the same time. Culling's been used, that should be enough to deter them, but the damage isn't that big against a Dr. Mundo that has a Randuin's and a Sunfire cape already, so very tanky, and it looks like Unicorns just want to fall back from this turret. It's not all that worth fighting over when you have an exposed... In fact, the inhibitor got taken down earlier, so they have to be careful.
Here's the engage, though. Even though they have that Baron, Helisang is the one to charge in. The box comes out, zones away. A couple members of Unicorns of Love jumps back into this fight, and everyone is in that cluster. Perry comes down once again with ultimate, instantly gets dropped. He is too squishy to stand up against him. But Master Shibi gets caught by death sentence and will be taken down. In fact, the 6 is going to drop, and Mozilla is trying his best to remove some of these members. This is a clutch re-engage. Bardax is going to be the one following after Exile. He's got the Sheen ready. He just needs to get in range for the auto attack. Also has a Light Slinger. The Dissonance should be off. There it is. And that's the ace. A 5-1 trade.
Brilliant maneuvering around that team fight. Now they just have to clear out the middle wave to make sure they're fine, but they can take objectives from this as well. And this is what we're talking about with Unicorns of Love, is they seem to be able to know when to engage, and provided they don't end up with objectives stolen away from them, they seem in pretty good fashion when it comes to these games. They're back in the lead. They've wiped Baron off of SK, and just a great team fight out here from Unicorns of Love. Well, let's check another replay of it. As you can see, they go for the engage. The Solar Flare actually doesn't land perfectly, and the box is used where not a lot of members of Unicorns will get in trouble. But this is the problem with going against like Renekton and Vi, is they're in the middle of 3 members dealing so much damage. And Orianna is just going to deal periodic damage during this team fight using command attack to chunk down a few of the members. And from there, they just balance the Mundo damage, get the disruption down to make sure Mundo can't kill Leona, and then it's just clinical from there. Dissonance provides the assist here for catching up.
I always love how squishy Pantheon is, to the point where he like jumps in, instantly dies, and looks like he died from the fall. He just like fallen off a skyscraper. So he'd like gone all the way up and it's like, all right guys, I've got them. And just like face plants into the ground. That's exactly what it looks like. First one went pretty well. I mean, he took the Baron from it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Baron was quite surprised by that. Yeah. He just was like, take my buff. And
it's a man falling from the sky.
Pantheon is 1-6 in this game. I think that's something to look at, is he is dying incredibly quickly in these fights.
And I mean, he's picked up a Giant's Belt and a Negatron Cloak, which don't individually build into anything. I mean, there are some components, and you don't get tanky by just building random defensive items.
I mean, it feels like SK Prime kind of just overlooked the damage that's going to come from an Orianna. Orianna is now 6-2 and has farmed very well. And this is the thing about Orianna and Gragas is Gragas is still relevant because of his ultimate, but Orianna has so much damage now that they've forced out 3 Negatron Cloaks from SK Prime. And that's quite a lot of gold that's been itemized into that. That's effectively the total gold from Baron and more that has gone into defending against an Orianna that could have already been defended against.
And just Orianna.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from like the Sunlight passive from Leona, that's the only real source. And because that one member is fed, it's completely changed the itemization. I mean, if you had like an AD mid laner, they would have been way more efficient with their gold spending, but they're kind of being forced into this pickup, and Negatron Cloak might not even cut it either. And
that's the thing is when you've got a Lucian that's 8-3, that's going to deal a lot of AD, and an Orianna now that you're having to defend against means that you have to get a lot of defensive items, which is standard on a champion like Mundo, but Pantheon at this point is, as you said, having to split which item he's going for because of the high amount of kills on his opponents, and he's going to die pretty quickly in these fights. It just depends on how SK Gaming choose to fight this. They have teleport available, so Mozilla will split push, but here's the engage.
Here's the engage, and so much damage. There is the wombo combo. 6 has dropped low. There's the next kill. 2-0 so far. The teleport comes in from Mozilla, but right into the grinder. Exile will just instantly drop him. Perry just has to run back. He's actually not the one to die first in this fight, but he's just too squishy to go back in.
And Mozilla teleported in, and it's not his fault for this, but it was too late.
Yeah.
It was a 5v3 to follow up then, so there was no way he could fight that. And then they pick up more kills. They're going to get objectives. They'll take an inhibitor. And with 30 seconds on the death timers for some of them, I don't know whether they can even hold this.
This is going to carry on going. The shield is going to be enough to just tank the turret as they go underneath the double Nexus turret. And Mozilla is alive, but no one has really bothered. Now the first Nexus turret has fallen. The second will be quick to follow. 6 is on 2 seconds before he comes back up, and this is going to be the game. It's going to be Unicorns of Love taking down SK in the first game of this best of 3.
It feels like we're going to have to get used to saying that Unicorns of Love have won the game, because while we may have overlooked them, they're looking pretty sharp.
So they've taken down Cloud9, you know.
Yeah, that's, you know, just a little challenger team.
And then they take the first game against SK Gaming.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
It's pretty good. And I think the impressive thing isn't the result as such, is that Unicorns of Love were ahead in the laning phase, ended up having a Baron stolen away from them, and big objectives, an inhibitor went down, and they were still level at that point. SK Gaming weren't more than 1,500 gold in the lead, which at that point in the game it is a close game. That's what you could expect two teams to be even at that point in the game. Unicorns of Love are looking incredibly consistent.
They don't seem to have any weak points either. They do everything well every game, and they never seem to trip up. Sometimes, you know, there's a small mistake here and there, but there's no, like, weak link. They're all super strong, and they typically win their laning phase as well. And against really mechanically talented players, because these guys are from Challenger. They know exactly what they're doing, and usually these teams are just built from really strong individual players, but they're being outplayed by this team of Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, to drop a facade a little bit, there's a kind of half-stunned look on our faces, which comes from the fact that we've casted SK Prime and Cloud9 and all of these teams so many games in Challenger, but we've never seen this happen to them back to back.
Yeah, by any of those teams.
A team may take a game or a series, but we're one game away from Unicorns of Love taking back-to-back series against some of the top Challenger teams. So I'm looking forward to game number 2 of this game, even more than game number 1, because now we're in a position where SK Gaming Prime are fighting for their tournament survival. They're one game down against Unicorns of Love. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with game number 2 between SK Gaming Prime against Unicorns of Love.